Hello everyone, welcome to Curiosity the Science Show. This is January 2024 episode. Happy New Year to everyone. So this is the episode number 51 and I'm talking to you here from Somnath in the coastline of Saurashtra coastline of Gujarat. Here I am with my students for sampling. You can see that this is intertidal region and the diversity is amazing here. And we have been camping here for a week, and after New Year we'll be departing from this place. So I'm really happy that to take you here in this divine place of Somnath. Okay, so alright, so as usual, the January, the name, right, the etymology of January comes from Janus. Janus is a god, the Roman god of beginnings. So it's a month of new beginnings, right, the new year. So I wish you a fantastic new year full of happiness and wisdom and curiosity, in fact, right? And January is the month of winter solstice in northern hemisphere and summer solstice in southern hemisphere. And in terms of florography, that is the language, the secret language of flowers, it's a month of the carnation flower, the beautiful carnation flower, the rose and pink carnation, right? Yes, so that is what. So the first part of the show, as usual, is a roundup of the news, right? The science news. COP28 has been concluded in Dubai, and the main outcome of this COP28, the conference of parties, is that the transition away from the fossil fuels in energy systems. So all the participants, all the countries in the world have agreed for transition away from the fossil fuel. I think that's a very important achievement. Got a standing ovation. But the problem here is that there is no compulsion and there is no timeline. So I'm a bit skeptical of the effectivity of this treaty. Okay. And another one is very interesting, is about the longevity, CpG methylation patterns in epigenetics. The C and G, the basically the methylation of this cytosine, the residue is concerned with the longevity. So you can do a CpG test on methylation for the propensity for the longevity. That's very interesting. US and UK approves CRISPR gene editing for sickle cell disease. That is a gene therapy. That's amazing, right? That news is really interesting. Chinstrap penguins map more than 10,000 times a day. It naps. They love siesta. I don't know you like the siesta or not, but the penguins love it more than 10,000 times. That's amazing, isn't it? And wasabi is the Japanese horseradish. So that's basically Eutrema japonicum. It's very pungent taste, right? And it's linked to the really substantial boost in memory. That is what the study found. That's very interesting, isn't it? Research has found that 45% workers would be willing to accept a pay cut in exchange of the remote work flexibility. That's pretty interesting. Even if there is a pay cut, the workers are ready to accept it. That's amazing, isn't it? Chimps and bonobos can recognize friends they haven't seen in decades, according to the new study that documents what might be the longest lasting non-human memory ever recorded. So they haven't met for years, and once they meet them, they become nostalgic and they can recognize their friends even after a decade. That's amazing, right? That's an anthropomorphic trait in non-human primates. I like it. So now coming, the next part is about the discoveries, some roundup of some interesting papers of this month, right? Last month. Government spending on the stadium is a poor form of utilization of the tax. The public, of course, the public exchequer, right? We all pay the tax. So the government spending on building massive stadium, is it a good investment? No, as per this new study. It's the reason is that it transfers the wealth from the poor citizen to the wealthy sports club owners. Amazing, isn't it? So that let me think about other forms of the government funding and how good these fundings are for the wealth distribution, equal distribution of the wealth, coming the wealth back to the society, or is it only for a particular niche of the society, the millionaires? That is a question to be asked, right? Introspection moment. Breastfeeding changes the baby's gut microbiome I'm sorry, it is metabolome, not microbiome. Gut metabolome. Usually gut comes with microbiome, right? So this is about the metabolome. It's all about the biochemistry, the gut biochemistry, such a way that it influences the test scores even decades later. The IQ scores in the test, standardized GRE and CAT test scores, are being affected by the breastfeeding. That's amazing. Microplastics in human placenta, 10 out of 10 in Hawaii. That is a very, very interesting study, in the Hawaiian study. The same kind of study they did a few decades back, and it was only 3 out of 10 that they found. Now in this study, after 1 decade, it's a longitudinal study, and they found 10 out of 10 samples tested for microplastics. That's an alarming. Fourth story is about algae. The same algae, Chlorella and Spirulina. These two are the blue algae, right? The Chlorella is a blue algae, while Spirulina is a blue-green algae. It is basically a cyanobacteria. It's a prokaryote. It's a bacteria, right? It can stimulate myofibrillar protein synthesis. That's amazing. It's a protein of myofibrillar tissues in humans, suggesting that they could be an alternative for animal-derived protein with respect to maintaining and building muscle. So bodybuilders and also those who want to bulk up your muscles, or those who want to increase the protein in your diet. Of course, protein deficiency is linked with kwashiorkor and many other diseases, right? So instead of eating the protein, you can stimulate the protein biosynthesis pathways in your system, right? So so these two algae, the Chlorella and Spirulina, can stimulate it. That's pretty interesting. I really like this story. The fifth story is a Stanford medicine-led trial of 22 pairs of identical twins comparing vegan and omnivore diets found that the vegan diet improves overall cardiovascular health as little as 8 weeks. So another support for the vegan diet instead of going for the carnivorous, that is basically the diet of it's a non-vegetarian food, right? So that's pretty interesting. By studying the identical twins, the researchers were able to control for the genetics, same households and similar lifestyles. So many confounding variables they could able to control. That is pretty interesting. Belief in the God is associated with risk-taking behavior. That is very, very revelation study. I really enjoy reading this study. So that means that if you believe in God, you can take more risk, because there is a big brother saving you, that the great savior, the God, isn't it? That's amazing. Seventh story is that the believers in the conspiracy theory are more prone for taking alternative medicine. So alternative medicine and conspiracy theory belief link, pretty interesting and quite related to the earlier story. And now eighth story is about the YouTube video recommendations. You are watching this through the YouTube, I know it. And after this curiosity, what next? The recommendation, right? That algorithm lead to more extremist content for right-leaning users. That is what the research says. So if you're right-leaning, then you get much more extremist viewpoints. The next video suggestions in the YouTube algorithm. That is also a revelation, I would say, for me. And the ninth story is about negative link between religiosity and intelligence remains stable over time in older adults. So that is also an alarming finding. If you are a lot more religious, extreme religious, then it says that your intelligence level usually is a bit lower than the general public. So that's pretty interesting. 10th story is that the study shows that the sodium ion batteries have equivalent climate impact as their lithium ion counterparts, without the risk of running out of the raw material, because lithium, it's a rare earth element, right? But sodium is everywhere. The oceans are full of sodium. So that's really amazing, right? The sodium ion battery instead of the lithium ion battery for this kind of thing, instead of lithium ion, you can go with the sodium ion battery. That's pretty interesting. I never thought of it. The only issue with the sodium ion battery is that it is really large. Lithium ion is just a pen torch. It's a very small AAA or AA, right? But no, that's at the same time for for sodium ion battery, you need to have something like a brick. That much of size you need to have it. That is the only catch here. 11th story: the younger people are less committed to the preservation of the democratic values compared with the older people. That is also an alarming story, I would say. The younger people of this generation, they don't much care about preservation of the democratic values. Well, the key question here is the democracy the best form of governance? You might agree or you might disagree, right? But the youngsters are more prone to disagree with that statement, and they don't want to preserve the democracy. That is kind of alarming in case you have strong faith in democracy. Of course I do have very strong faith in democracy, because the alternative forms doesn't actually it actually supports certain niche in the society, right? It doesn't do the justice to everyone, right? Inclusivity is a very, very important question here. 12th story is that the study found that the people with depression and suicidal ideation have 5 detectable biomarkers in their blood that could help to identify the individuals at higher risk of becoming suicidal. So you can go for a small blood checkup for these 5 biomarkers, and of course these biomarkers are different for men and women. So that means that you need to go for separate men test and women test, the biological gender, right? And the test can tell you your propensity of having suicidal ideations. That is amazing, right? 13th story: the human brain's energy puzzle, unveiling the high cost of thinking. The frontoparietal networks, which are pivotal in high level cognitive tasks like problem solving and decision making. The frontal part of your brain, comparing with the backside of your brain, it eats up 67% more energy than the areas involved with basic sensory or motor functions, like areas involved with visual perception or the taste perception. So those areas doesn't have much of the energy requirement compared with this particular areas, the areas that are involved with the higher order thinking. That is basically the critical thinking areas, right? I think that is very, very interesting study. Oh yeah, this is already the sunset, such a beautiful sunset. The sun has already set here in Somnath. That is so amazing. I hope you really enjoyed this show. We are kind of halfway through. Okay, so now next story is that the brain study suggests that traumatic memories are processed as present experience. That is alarming. If you ever face such traumatic incidences like child abuse, parental abuse when you were young, so rest of your life the brain treat these memories as present. That means that you are being abused every single time when you think of that. That is so sad. And the study shows or throws some light on potential avenues of therapeutics for those who suffered this kind of abuse. That's very bad, and that is quite revelation. 15th story: people who live in the poorest parts of the England have more than 70% higher risk of dying from the cancer compared with those who live in more affluent areas. The cancer association with your wealth. So poor people are more prone to develop the cancer, at least in England. So probably that the case might be same with elsewhere too. So it could be a lot of confounding variables. Correlation doesn't mean causation, right? So there are a lot of factors involved with, especially affordability to the healthcare and early detection. So cancer detections are not that cheap, right? So early detection is the key. 16th story: while the screen time is generally known to affect the sleep, new research suggests that interactive engagement like texting the friends or playing the video games delays and reduces the time spent asleep to a greater extent than passive screen time like watching a video. So compare with two activities: watching a YouTube video like this or texting your friends. So texting has got because that is active. It's a two-way communication, right? So that has a higher propensity to affect the quality of the sleep. So beware of it. 17th story, females exposed to phthalates. So phthalates are endocrine disrupting chemicals, right, that leached by the plastic. So this channel covered a lot about this EDCs and links with various diseases like PCOS. Yeah, so leached by plastics in the food delivery or pet bottles have significantly higher chance of infertility. Infertility is now increasing everywhere. So phthalates and other EDC with infertility link. That is the latest story. All the story links are in the show notes of this video. Okay, please click the link in the show notes of this video. Final story of this month's curiosity is that the flowers giving up on scarce insects and evolving to self-pollinate, because insects are insects are threatened. Most of the insects, the endemic insects, right, are now no longer, because it has went extinct. So flowers, of course, for reproduction, the pollination, the plants have to be dependent on those insects, right? And when these insects are gone, and there is highly specific, only certain insect can pollinate certain plants, right? And when these insects are gone, what will the plant do? Plants self-fertilize, self-pollinate. That is a very, very sad story. I'm sorry to end this at a sad note here. Okay, so by the way, all the stories and a lot more are in our Facebook group, Young Academy of India. You can search out in the Facebook and please join. Right, we have an active group of volunteer moderators who do share very interesting stories. Okay, now it's already a twilight zone, right? I hope you can still see my face. I'm talking to you here. I think it's just a few minutes left. Coming next part of the curiosity is the observances. The third is Earth at perihelion. So perihelion is basically the closest point of the Earth's orbit around the sun, right? Though it is really cold in the northern hemisphere, but it's the other way in southern hemisphere, right? Fourth is the Braille day and quadranted meteor shower. 9th is Moon Venus conjunction. 13th is the best day to watch the Mercury, the morning star. 14th is Moon Saturn conjunction. 19th is Moon Jupiter conjunction. And also on the same day you can see a meteor shower called Ursae Minoris meteor shower. 24th is World Education Day. 25th is Wolf Moon. 26th is Clean Energy Day. Coming the last part of the curiosity, the opportunities. Please do participate in the Christmas Day bird count. So by Audubon Society, the Christmas is over, but still you can contribute to that bird count. It is basically backyard bird count. Audubon is one of the fantastic society of bird lovers, in the US. It's not only for the US citizen, okay? It's world around. Anywhere in the world can contribute into the bird count, okay? ICGEB Otto Flashy PhD position is open now. The fellowship is open now. 31st of March 24 is the deadline. TWAS, the World Academy of Sciences DBT postdoc, 19th March is the deadline. SERB Overseas Doctoral Fellowship, 2nd Jan is the deadline. Branco Weiss Fellowship Society in Science, 15th Jan is the deadline. Call for case studies on safeguarding intangible cultural heritage and climate actions from Asia Pacific region by the integrated research on disaster risks under the auspices of the UNESCO. This news is coming from my own organization, International Science Council, and the deadline is 30th of January. Call for applicants is again from ISC. IUPAC Solvay International Award for the Young Chemist for most outstanding PhD thesis in chemical sciences. Deadline is 15th February. Call for applications for IIASA Young Scientist Summer Program. The deadline is 12th January 2024. And several JRF and project position calls are open. I keep on sharing that in the group. I hope you are part of the curiosity group in the Google. Otherwise, please become a member of the Young Academy of India. It costs you nothing, right? Just a few clicks away. And do join. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube the channel yet, consider subscribing to it to get a lot of science related stories. I hope I did cover most of the happenings in the world of science that happened the last month. And I forgot to cover one thing. Yeah, that is also a very interesting story that is coming from Birbal Sahni Institute in Lucknow. And what they found is that a family that used to revere their the family god for centuries in their family, and they wanted to test it, the statue of that god, which looks like an egg. And the researchers, the paleontologists from this Birbal Sahni, they tested it, and you know what they found? These are real eggs of dinosaurs. That's an amazing story. I really like this story. Science is giving the lights on centuries or traditions, right? That's pretty interesting story. And at this juncture, I would like to end. I hope you have enjoyed this show, and I wish you a fantastic new year. Let 2024 be an year of curiosity for all the young listeners of this my YouTube channel and this show, right? I wish you the very best in 2024, especially with curiosity driven basic sciences, right? And that's it. I hope to see you again with our next episode of February. Until then, please take care. Happy New Year once again. Goodbye.